I am so excited to introduce absolutely one of my favorite professors ever. She has been not just my favorite professor, but a very dear friend and has helped me so much in sort of the decade-long development process I've been on. And I'm very grateful to you for your friendship and kindness. Um, Dr. Mary Antonia Wood is a visual artist, mythologist, educator who serves as chair and professor of the MA program in depth psychology and creativity with emphasis in the arts and humanities at Pacifica Graduate Institute. She is also the founder of Talisman Creative Mentoring, a practice dedicated to supporting artists and creators in forging authentic connections to the archetypal sources of their creativity. With over 25 years of experience as a visual artist, Dr. Wood's work has been exhibited in numerous solo and group shows and is held in both public and private collections. Her academic credentials include both an MA and PhD in mythological studies and depth psychology from Pacifica Graduate Institute. Dr. Wood is the author of The Archetypal Artist: Reimagining Creativity and the Call to Create, a work that explores the intersection of creativity, mythology, and depth psychology. She offers courses and workshops that delve into the psychological and spiritual dimensions of the creative process, aiming to assist individuals in navigating the complexities of artistic expression and personal growth. Please welcome Mary Antonia Wood.
Thank you so much, Gloria. Hello, everyone. I have been dealing with a little bit of a cold this past week. So for those of you that I already know here, thank you for joining us. And you'll notice that I have, yeah, a little bit of a few sniffles here and there as I present. So, Gloria is stoking the fire here in exactly the way that I had planned to start this talk. So I just want to take a moment to recognize her fireplace and her hearth. It's almost always lit when she hosts these sort of events, and it's such a beautiful symbol of warmth, community, welcome. The symbol of the hearth has become kind of a central symbol to my thinking around the ideas that I want to present to you today. Um, so I'm going to share those with you alongside some perspectives from some of the thinkers that have inspired me, including Bell Hooks, Ruha Benjamin, Charlie Warzel, Stanley Kunitz, and Gloria Anzaldúa. These individuals may be familiar to some, or most of you. Perhaps a few of them are familiar. But each in their own way, they've positioned knowing and the making of knowledge as something relational, something reciprocal, ambitious, and oftentimes really difficult, rather than as something extractive, transactional, easy, and lacking in true ambition. So let me begin. Like all of us gathered around the Cosmos hearth today, I'm concerned about so many aspects of the rise of artificial intelligence, including the environmental impacts of the massive data centers, with their equally massive usage of water and electricity, along with the physical and mental impacts on communities of color, lower income, and rural communities around the world, whose remaining open spaces are actively being targeted for data center development. As an artist, scholar, and educator, I also worry about the impacts that AI is having on creative expression, on the livelihoods of human creators, and on human imagination itself. It takes great effort to make great art, to make anything of true value, including relationships and community. A good way to describe that effort is friction. I've been pondering this idea of creative friction after reading a recent article by Charlie Warzel. He's a writer who covers technology, media, and online extremism for The Atlantic, along with hosting a podcast called Galaxy Brain. According to Warzel, generative AI supposedly supercharges all that it touches, democratizing creativity, eliminating friction, increasing productivity, and pushing the boundaries of what is possible. Its disruption of the online economy, the boosters argue, is a reason for great optimism. Generative AI, according to Warzel, is disruptive. It is transformative and is reducing fiction. But the economic incentives for using it are geared far less toward supercharging human potential and much more toward producing abundant slop. By the way, just last Tuesday, I noticed that Merriam-Webster Dictionary has named slop the word of the year for 2025. So Warzel goes on to say that the loss of friction deprives people of something crucial. What happens between imagination and creation is ineffable. It entails struggle, iteration, joy and frustration, disappointment, and pride. It's the process through which we enact agency, something that Gelleray's already touched on this morning. It's how we make meaning and move through the world. To lose that, I fear, is to capitulate on our very own humanity. Warzel's sobering assessment was already foreseen over 30 years ago by poet and cultural critic Bell Hooks, who was well attuned to the connections between diminished creative imagination and oppression. From a collection of essays called Art on My Mind, Visual Politics, she wrote, "It occurred to me that if one could make a people lose touch with their capacity to create, lose touch with their will and their power to make art, then the work of subjugation, of colonization, is complete." Expanding upon Hooke's insights beyond the sphere of creative expression, I've been wondering about the frictionless relationships that people are developing with chatbot friends and lovers, and what types of subjugation they and we as a human collective might be stepping into. Warzel has reported that 1 in 5 Americans has had an intimate encounter with a chatbot. 1 in 5. This may seem hard to believe, but online communities such as the Reddit group, My AI Boyfriend is Real, which averages 85,000 visits a week, provide plenty of support for this finding that 1 in 5 Americans has had some sort of intimate, i.e., sexual encounter with a chatbot. People enter into these human chatbot relationships for many reasons, including loneliness, the stresses of caregiving for a spouse, elders, or children, and the desire to experience desire in ways that they haven't found satisfying or safe in human-to-human relationships. The key benefits reported by individuals with chatbot companions include a reduction in loneliness, the 24/7 availability of the chatbot companion, and the pleasing nature of the relationship. In other words, the lack of friction. Another common benefit mentioned by these individuals is how the chatbot knows them in ways that no human has ever known them. Thinking about this has led me to wonder about the nature of knowing itself. So in the English language, we have a single verb, to know, which conveys everything from knowing basic data or how to do something to knowing someone in the most intimate ways. The Spanish language is just one alternative example. It's much more nuanced and offers two verbs to express a variety of ways of knowing. Saber refers to knowing where things are located, how to do things, and knowledge of general facts, while conocer refers to knowing someone or something through relationship. While there's some overlap, these are still very different modes of knowing. with saber implying a certain everyday matter-of-factness, and conocer implying something more interesting, sustained, and also more challenging to attain. Conocer is the root of the word conocimiento, the primary concept that I'd like to introduce to you today. Conocimiento can be translated as wisdom, awareness, and/or as a deep, holistic knowledge, rather than intellectual or factual knowledge. It implies being in relationship with ideas, things, and people, the opposite of a Cartesian paradigm of subject and object. Conocimiento is the name that the Mestiza theorist, poet, and activist, Gloria Anzaldúa, gave to the collective knowledge and evolving ways of knowing that made up her life. This collection of knowledge and practices were informed by her dedicated studies in philosophy, Jungian and archetypal psychology, mythology, literature, feminism, along with astrology, alchemy, mysticism, divination, spirituality, and other non-rational ways of knowing. So many of the areas of study that Cosmos is becoming known for. Conocimiento, according to contemporary feminist scholar Ana Louise Keating, is an ambitious, overarching theory of consciousness. It's a non-hierarchical and recursive epistemology and way of being that attempts to unite all dimensions of life, not only the inner dimensions, such as intellectual, the emotional, instinctive, imaginal, spiritual, and bodily, but also the outer dimensions, such as the social and the political. So here we're touching back upon a bit of what Gloria offered to us this morning, which, by the way, we did not compare notes. We've only seen each other's abstracts, so the synchronicity is already at work. Inspired by both alchemical processes and creative struggles that she observed in other artists and in her own creative work, Anzaldúa identified 7 stages of transformation that comprise conocimiento. While numbered, these steps are not necessarily sequential. One can start or return to any stage, and one can get stuck in a particular stage for quite some time, for months or even years. Like alchemical stages or the stages of a relationship, conocimiento is a recursive process driven by longing and love, a process of deepening intimacy that flows from and to the heart. The stages include el arrebato, rupture, fragmentation, an ending, a beginning. Something shakes you out of complacency and safety, resulting in pain, loss, confusion. Your world turns upside down, and you realize that life can't go on the way that it had before. Stage 2, torn between ways, nepantla. Caught between before and after, and with no familiar ground to stand upon, you're cast into a liminal space between worlds, a fluid, chaotic space, filled with anxiety, but also with the possibility of new understandings and new connections. Stage 3, the cost of knowing, desconocimiento, the coatlicue state. Here, the price of achieving new understandings, of achieving wisdom, is too high. It's too difficult, and you fall into despair, paralyzed at the sight of coatlicue, the dreadful goddess, and by what she demands of you. Stage 4, the call, el compromiso, the crossing and conversion. This is a call to action that finally pulls you out of your depression and fear. You feel your courage building once again. You break free from habitual coping strategies and addictions and rededicate yourself to spirit with a fervor akin to a conversion. Stage 5, new personal and collective stories, putting Koyoshwaki back together. Your passion for wisdom gives you the energy to assess the many fragmented parts of yourself and of the world around you. You begin to question everything, especially the dominant structures that would tear you apart and rearrange you to their liking. Inspired by the dismembered moon goddess, Koyoshwaki, you begin to reassemble yourself into a new story and go beyond yourself to reimagine and reassemble collective stories with others. And just when you think you're there, stage 6, the blow up, the clash of realities. You take these stories out into the world, and when you or the world fails to live up to your ideals, your edifice collapses like a house of cards, casting you into conflict with self and into a war between realities. Disappointed and angry with yourself and others, you swallow your emotions, hold them in. Blocked from your own power, you're unable to activate the inner resources that could propel you out of this state. You wait, you suffer, you endure. Stage 7, shifting realities, acting out a vision, or spiritual activism. This is the critical turning point, the turning point of transformation. You shift realities, develop an ethical, compassionate strategy with which to negotiate conflict and difference within self and between others. You find common ground by forming holistic alliances. You include these practices in your daily life. You act on your visions. Inner work plus public actions equals spiritual activism. For me, this is how one eventually becomes wise. By confronting our fear and lethargy, and by enduring the alchemical flames of transformation. The consequences could be dire if we lose the passion for wisdom and the capacity to tolerate the friction that's inherent in getting to know people, ideas, and even ourselves. Without this endurance and passion, we can easily be led to blindly and obediently follow the dictates of what historian and cultural critic Yuval Noah Harari has called imagined orders. Based on the shared myths or stories that groups of people believe to be true, imagined orders form a kind of invisible glue that binds individual desires and beliefs to group desires and beliefs, allowing large numbers of people to exist as a whole. Of course, these imagined orders that we all live by can have both benevolent and malevolent consequences. An example of the latter that's germane to our topic today of wisdom versus intelligence are the intertwined beliefs that technologies, such as artificial intelligence, are neutral, unbiased, and the inevitable way of the future. They must be incorporated into our lives and businesses, lest we be left behind. It's quite the task to challenge an existing imagined order. Emphasizing the role of human imagination in this task, Harari has stated that in order to change an existing imagined order, we must first believe in an alternate imagined order. This reminds me of the alchemical maxim, like cures like. Only like can cure like. Princeton professor, author, and MacArthur Fellow Ruha Benjamin has echoed some of Harari's insights in her own book, Race After Technology, Abolitionist Tools for the New Jim Code. The power of the new Jim Code, she writes, is that it allows racist habits and logics to enter through the back door of tech design, in which the humans who create the algorithms are hidden from view. Additionally, she argues that tech innovations often hide, speed up, and even deepen discrimination while appearing to be neutral and even benevolent. Technologies such as AI and others used for surveillance and predictive purposes can easily embed the imagined orders of white supremacy and patriarchy deeper into our everyday lives and into our imaginations, especially when they're forced upon us with no clear way to opt out of them. So, what seems clear to me is that we're caught up in a new era of conquest, not only of land, water, public utilities, and financial resources, but a conquest of human relationship and of human imagination itself. This idea of conquest is something that I'll be expanding upon in my upcoming class for Cosmos. But for now, and as long as my voice will hold out, let us return back to the hearth as I prepare to close this portion of our time together. Among the wise elders who I continually turn to for illumination is the poet Stanley Kunitz. Reflecting on his own long life as a creator, poet, teacher, gardener, Kunitz explained that there's no formula for entering into the unconscious life. The more you believe in its existence and know it walks with you, the more it becomes available. It learns you are a friendly host. The unconscious life that Kunitz spoke of is our human imagination, the wild realm of images within and without that we will really never get to know when we outsource our thinking and creating, when we won't take the time to be friendly hosts. Hosting requires generosity, patience, vulnerability, honesty, a desire for intimacy, and a taste for friction. There are no shortcuts to good hosting, just as there are no shortcuts to or through conocimiento, to wisdom. Through its model of passionate scholarship combined with radical affordability, Cosmos has shown itself to be the quintessential friendly host. From a very small spark that could have easily been extinguished several times, I almost saw it over the last few years, Cosmos has transformed into a steady flame. May it grow ever stronger as we tend it together. Thanks, everyone. Oh, let me show you one more thing. References, like a good scholar, if you want to go deeper into any of those thoughts that I expressed to you. And if you want the t-shirt on the left, it might be a nice mantra to walk around with.
Wait, sorry.
Okay, Gloria, back to
T-shirt?
you.